always the goofball, always the one that needed to make people smile and laugh. When I was in ninth grade at North High, I totally just a horrible report card just because I was having too much fun being with my friends and not doing my schoolwork. How was my mother going to discipline me? She says, okay, you can't play music. We're going to pull you out of band. And saw just how miserable I was. And then she's like, okay, I can't take that away from him because that's his love. That would be more dangerous to, let alone me, but all of us. So it was, being grounded. She had the foresight to, okay, let me not take music away from him. Going back to high school, had friends that were musicians, friends that were jocks, had the academic people, and I wanted to be friends with all of them. And it seems that to bring it to today, it seems that everybody's divided and everybody's trying to solidify their piece of the pie for power, not for solidifying, the nation as a whole. It's just everybody is just about themselves at this time. Everybody is being exclusionary rather than inclusion. Music. Come back to music. That's music and love are the only universal languages that we have in any culture, anywhere you go. From Siberia to Africa, you go down and somebody plays music. It's either good music or bad music, but nonetheless, it's music, and people will come together at that point.
Our lives are often filled with worry and chaos as the media propagates one negative story after another, bringing divide and tension within topics such as politics, religion, and race relations. These stories fuel hatred and confusion while people continue to live in fear. Yet through all this negative energy, many are delivering messages of wisdom and hope, encouraging positive change, and that's something I'm aiming to do. My name is Roger Brooks, and I'm hopeful for our future, but we must be the change and not be a spectator in life, looking from the outside in. For as long as I could remember, I've been fascinated by people's stories. Stories speak to us, and since the beginning of time, the human race has prospered by passing down wisdom told through the essence of story. It's a way for people to aspire to become the hero they know they could be, seeing their higher self through the wisdom of others. What started out as a hobby has quickly turned into my life mission, and as I deliver a new guest each Sunday, I'll aim to prompt the questions you may be thinking, and through the power of listening, I'll allow the guest to speak and articulate their points of view in order to give you the headspace you need to realize your own hero's journey. We are one race. We are one people. Help spread the word about American Real, and together, let's make great stories go viral to inspire, enlighten, and empower those we love and the masses we hope to reach. Welcome to episode 107 of American Real, where this week we sit down with musician Mo Reese Taylor. When I think back to my youth, there are some people who stand out as always being there, and Reese is certainly one of those special people. Today's guest takes us back to the good old days and tells us how he got his start in music by sneaking into his older brother's room to practice on his turntable equipment. I was able to sit down with an old friend and learn so much about him that I never knew, such as having a family full of competitors and the impact his mother made on his life. What I like most about Reese's story is that he's the kid who had a love for music from a young age and has been able to carry out his lifelong passion while passing on his musical talents to the next generation. So sit back and relax as I welcome the leader of the band, Mr. Mo Reese Taylor.
This is American Real. I am Roger Brooks. My guest today is Mo Reese Taylor, musician, and as I like to say, voice of reason. Reese, Mo Reese. Welcome to the show.
Mo, Reese, it doesn't matter. You can call me anything you want, just not late for dinner.
What's great, Reese, is when I think about you, I think about my childhood.
Ooh.
Because you were always there. You were at the games, you were at the school, you're a little bit older than me, but your presence has always been there.
Oh man, that means a lot. Thank you. So what year did you graduate?
87.
Okay, so 87, I was just starting to come back to work with the pep band, and we're talking Binghamton High. So working with the pep band, working with the music program, but I was there for the 86 ride. So just everything was happening back then. It was so much fun to come back and be part of Binghamton High as it was still growing, because 83 is when we all got together.
And when did you graduate?
I graduated 85.
Okay, great. So you're a couple of years ahead of me. And let's talk about those days. Let's go back to those days.
I wish we really can.
It was a great time.
Yeah.
Life seemed to be simpler. People seem to be, I don't know, maybe it's just my perception, but more friendly, maybe?
More friendly is definitely a way you can put it. It just seemed that people knew that, okay, we were supposed to get along with everybody instead of tear everybody apart. Not to go that political this early, at least, but it just was like me being a musician. I was friends with the Jocks. I was friends, as you know, King Rice, Rick Coleman. These were all people that I grew up with and hung out with and knew. Then we had the musician side of it, Tony Kedlek, which is, speaking of someone that you need to talk to, he is one, and we can definitely.
Great, would love that.
But just everybody, even though we had the separated groups, we all had a cohesive factor to everybody being in their cohesive group or in their separate groups, but knew that we kind of all had to depend on each other to be happy in this area.
Yeah. And what was it like growing up for you?
Always the goofball, always the one that needed to make people smile and laugh and be entertained through music, or at the radio was a big part of my life growing up, because I grew up with a radio person, and we were the only family in our kind of here and around that had my brother had 2 turntables and a microphone. He was a DJ, but my brother Dwayne was a DJ before me, and I used to sneak into his room, which his room was off limits to me, but he had the turntable, so I had to go in and learn to DJ, by sneaking through and making tapes. And left the tape into the machine one day, and my brother had a fit about it, and my mom was like, leave him alone, he's doing what he loves. And that kind of just grew into who I am today, being a DJ, being a musician, being an entertainer.
How old were you at that point when you snuck into your brother's
I
room?
was 13, going into 14, and then that's when at 14 to 15 I bought my own equipment and was DJing parties literally about 200 yards from here at the Urban League Teen Center.
Wow.
Yeah, it was once again, it was an incredible time.
And take us back to how you became involved with music, where you actually began to play instruments. How young were you at that point?
That was Calvin Coolidge, 5th grade, and I still have this this nervous habit. If I'm really nervous about, and I'm purposely not, so I have this nervous habit as a kid that, you know, you see people like just tap on their desk like this, trying to, you know, collect thoughts. My tapping on desk was. So 5th grade, Mr. LaForce, I'm about to bomb a test. You know, didn't study, and started tapping. And it's not conscious to me when it happens. I just tap. And all of a sudden, and Mr. LaForce at the time was the biggest human being, tallest that I've known. He's probably about 6'3", 6'4". I feel this hand come across my chest. Oh, sorry about that. I feel this hand come across my chest, and he literally dragged me to Mr. Black, which was our drum teacher at Coolidge Elementary School. Could you please teach him? He's driving me crazy. And that started off playing drums, and did that into the middle of 7th grade. And so now I'm at East Junior. And, you know, all the different elementary schools are coming together, and we're like, now we have a bunch of people. And my thing about drums, have you ever seen the movie Drumline?
No.
Drumline was part of the movie. Nick Cannon was the actor that played the main character. He had lied and said that he could read music when all he can do is watch your hands and mimic what you're doing with that. And that's, and as I'm looking at somebody play drums, and in the movie, his hands slow down, and he's watching stick for stick, how his hands are moving. And that's what I was able to do at a young age. And, you know, knew a little bit about reading music, but I was a better mimicker. I was a better person that can mimic. And so that did well for me until 7th grade. And then I'm dealing with people that actually play, you know, can read music, can, you know, knew all the stickings. So our teacher, Mr. Hunkovic, God rest his soul, says to me, okay, you can play finger cymbals or triangle in the drum section, or we need horn players. So sat down with a tuba, sat down with a trumpet, sat down with a baritone, and took, somehow a trombone was given to me, and was able, right from the moment that I picked it up, played 25, 6 or 4, Chicago song, ba 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 ba, ba 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 ba, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Okay, so I have a hard time understanding that because music's been difficult for me. I've tried to play guitar. We had an organ in the house growing up, so I played a little bit by ear, as you know, as you're saying. But did you read music at that point, or was it?
Well, with drums, I was reading music, but kind of at a rudimentary, excuse the pun, drums rudiments. I was reading it at a very slow level. But once again, as you know, 3 drummers are standing next to, you know, in a row, they're playing their lesson. And for whatever excuse, you know, I would drop a stick and look down and listen to what they're playing, and be able to then play what they played.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Eventually, did you?
Now I'm able to read music and just drum music is kind of hard because it's all just rhythm. But now playing trombone and piano and the other instruments that I play, I'm able to read music and able to, pretty much if you're gonna go beginner, intermediate, professional level, I can hang in a high intermediate level of music, especially because I'm playing with a lot of different groups. Some groups, no music. Jazz bands, that's all you play is music.
Wow. It's just fascinating to me that number one, you picked it up from an early age. It was in you. But then it seems almost more challenging to have to learn something when you already know,
Sure.
I guess by ear or
Right.
how you say, what's the phrase for the drums you mentioned?
Just mimicking.
Mimicking, yes.
Yeah. Well, it's for trombone, and I had to start reading music right from the beginning because that's
Okay.
you can't really can't survive in we're going back to middle school. You can't really mimic a horn because you're playing in a section. So
And it's so crucial, the timing
yeah,
of all that.
Yep. You have to play with the person that's next to you and all around you. You have to play as I tell the students that I deal with now that you have to listen in the front, behind, and on the sides because you have to blend in. So you can't fake that, or it's very hard to fake that. There are people that can do it. I'm just not one of them.
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is what I love about podcasting, what I love about this is that here you are, a person that's been in my life or someone that I've known my entire life, but we've never sat down to have a conversation.
No, and what's even more freaky is that your circle was my circle.
Yes.
We just never
Yes.
had connected like this.
And it just goes to show you that until you actually reach out, whether it's a podcast or just reaching out to a friend for coffee, until you take that action, that can never happen. So number one, I know it's taken us over a year for the timing to sit down, so I'm grateful and thankful for doing that. But even more so, I'm really looking forward to learning more about you, someone I've known my entire life.
That's to know that we're talking 35, 40 years, into the future. Who would ever know that it would take that long to get together and to you have the life that you have lived to this point, and I've done everything that I can, musically and entertainment wise, radio wise, and just the fact that our past comes to this minute.
It's awesome.
It's really,
Yeah.
really, it's kind of not nervous, but just awe-inspiring.
Yes, yeah.
It's a perfect example of, be careful of who you talk to and how you talk to, because you would, who knows, someday you'd be talking to that person.
Right, and now we get to share your story to the world, which goes well beyond our immediate area, and that's what I'm really want to dive into your past, your not so distant past, and then I want to know what's happening with you in the future. So let's get into it now.
Okay.
So your mom must have been just proud. So you have musicians in the house. Now you're playing the trombone.
Well, how my household is, I sit back and try to think about and try to grasp what my mom must have been going through. It starts off with I have 3 brothers, 2 sisters. My oldest brother, Greg, could have been a pro baseball player, but a little too happy, a little too much living in the 70s, and frankly, married family, so that kind of derails the visions of grandeur that you would have at the time, just because, okay, I'm going to start a family. I'm married now, so I'll move to this direction. Then comes the second brother, my brother Billy, semi-pro tennis player, goes to Niagara University in the early 70s on a tennis scholarship. Wow. The peculiar thing about Billy and how our family came up through in Binghamton, we did a lot of things that black families didn't do. We all skied. We all played golf. We all, he played tennis on a semi-pro level, but everybody, all of the brothers in the family can play decent game of tennis. On ski slopes, if you see another black family back then in the 70s, it was a family reunion, even though we didn't know the family. So we just tried to be we just tried to be comfortable in every situation that was presented to us. So getting back to Billy being a semi-pro tennis player, one of the best in the area, and regionally and collegiately one of the best. Then here comes my brother Dwayne, which is 5 years older than me. The beauty of my brother Dwayne is that he wasn't the model citizen when he was a kid. He wasn't he wasn't a thug, but he just didn't have the foresight that would happen a couple of years in his early teens. And the only way that I can explain it is he looked up into the sky and saw the moon and stars and said, okay, I want to be up there. And in a matter of what seems, and I'm a kid watching this, Star Trek comes on. So he says, that's what I want to do. I want to be an astronaut. And it was like they turned off or turned on a light switch, and he's he went to North High. He's one of the best athletes in North High. He was a swimmer. That's another thing, not too many. But he, is breaking records in the swimming pool at East Junior then, but, swimming for North. He's all area football player. So now he's a junior, and these are the things that I just remember. I remember our congressman or assemblyman, Matt McHugh. I remember the name. McHugh is definitely the last name. He's in our living room congratulating my brother because he's now going to go to the Air Force Academy. Now, you go back to just a couple years ago, this is not going to happen. We're not sure where you're going to go. But, my brother's going to the Air Force Academy to play football and to become a jet pilot. And that's what, that's just the power of you can, whatever you want to do, you can do it. You just have to put in the time and do the work.
And how important was it for you as a kid to watch your older brothers, and especially your Dwayne, who was closest to you, go through that? That must have really...
It was truly remarkable, and it created a problem because I, growing up, wanted to be my brother. He had the coolest clothes. He had the football. And what had happened, how I became more interested in music, is because I realized that I wasn't going to be able to be, even my brother, going back to my brother Billy that went to, Seton now was Catholic Central. He played football there. And it wasn't going to happen for me. Sports on that kind of competitive level wasn't going to happen. So in watching Dwayne go through what he's going through in his growth as a person that's into sports, and now as high academics because he's going to fly jets. He wants to be an astronaut. So what that gave me is my kind of how to look at something and try to seize it. And I wanted to be a musician. I realized that, I'm not going to be I'm not going to be Dwayne on the football field. I'm not going to be Billy in the tennis and all that. And then later in life, Billy took up martial arts. So, and is a world champion at that. Wow. So once again, going back to your original question, I just had to try to fit where I was gonna, where my path was gonna be.
Yeah. How influential was your mom in your life?
Okay. My mom gave myself and the family the notion of service and how to. She was the director of the Urban League Teen Center. Now, how that fits first. Okay, let's go into my life. I was DJing parties at the Broome County Urban League Teen Center at 14 years old. There was an office there that wasn't being used. I had to go to my mom and say, hey, Mom, rather than to rattle all of the paint at home, there's this office space here that if you can give me, from, let's say, 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock when the teen center closed, I can go in there and practice and, keep it down, keep the volume down. But I had this ability to go and, like someone would practice basketball, shooting foul shots, shooting shots, dribbling. I was able to go into this office space with all my music there, all of the albums we used albums back then.
That's right.
And just practice like anybody else would. So that was my mom's doing. My mom, before working at the Urban League, was one of the directors at Head Start, which now we're talking a couple of 100 yards that way. My first job was a babysitter for the Head Start because parents would come in for meetings in the evening, and they would leave their kids in a big room, and that was my first job, being a babysitter. Then my second job, other than DJing, was I was the maintenance person for the Broome County Urban League until I was 20 years old. So my mom gave me the tools to learn discipline, to make a paycheck, a legitimate paycheck, rather than she could have just easily said, okay, go clean go pick up the garbage in the bathroom. Here's it, slide it under the table. No, I had a paycheck that my mom knew how much I was getting paid, knew how much I had to contribute to the household, knew how much I had to buy equipment and that kind of thing. So my mom, for everybody in our family, was the person of discipline. Knew, and it wasn't mom was strong. And to even backtrack a little further, my mother and father had, I come from a single parent family, that when I was 6 years old, my mother and father were no longer together. However, my father was still in the picture. He was a couple 100 yards this way, and I had access to my father at any given time, but my mom is who I lived with. And she was the one that, you can't do this until the dishes are done. You can't do this until your homework is done. Even though I was a horrible student, that's the long and short of it when it came to school. Horrible student, but teachers loved me because I was a fun-loving guy. I tried not to be disruptive, but I had fun, in school, and it wasn't a fun like partying. It was a fun that I honestly enjoyed being with the other students that was at our school. So my mom and just was the discipline and how to do things the right way. That's actually how I could describe it more than anything. My mom showed the family how to do things right. And it was a matter of you didn't want to disappoint mom, because in it, it wasn't a heavy-handed discipline thing, but just that look of, you just didn't want that.
What I love about the story is that it sounds like she allowed each one of you to do whatever your passion was. Yet first you had to find it, but then whether it was tennis or skiing or football or music, she let you do what you wanted to do.
And knew that, okay, here's a for example. When I was in ninth grade at North High, I totally, just horrible report card, just because I was having too much fun being with my friends and not doing my schoolwork. And so how was my mother going to discipline me? She says, okay, you can't play music. We're going to pull you out of band. And saw just how miserable I was, for the couple of weeks. And then she's like, okay, I can't take that away from him because that's his love. That would be more dangerous to all,
Right.
let alone me, but all of us. So it was, being grounded. It seemed like I was more grounded than I was able to go and do things. But she had the foresight to, okay, let me not take music away from him, but everything else around him needs to, be checked and be looked at, and how to not take his music away, but he needs discipline, and this is how she did it, by grounding. And I couldn't go to Fairview Park, and couldn't in the summertime go in the pool and at Fairview Park. Just she was very creative on how to deal with me.
How about sports? I know your brothers played sports. Was your mom a sports fan? How was it in the household?
Mom was the ultimate sports fan, and I mean ultimate sports fan. And the reason I can say this is because one morning, probably this happened about 4:30 in the morning, dead asleep, and all of a sudden I hear screaming from her bedroom. So I get up, and as I'm getting closer, I can hear, "You're tacking wrong. You're tacking wrong." She's watching the America's Cup. She's watching a yacht race, yelling at these people that they're sailing wrong. So
That's
stemming from that, I'm like, okay, you are the ultimate sports fan.
So it didn't matter what sport it was.
No, it didn't. It truly didn't. Basketball and football was her number one, but come an important game in hockey, she'd watch that. Just any sport that was on, she was on top of it, watching it all the time.
And do you think that led to the competitiveness of you with your music, your brothers with their sports?
Absolutely.
Because of her tenacity?
Absolutely. That's a perfect way to put it. That's what, because once again, I knew I was not going to be world class at sports. I was always, I can hang on the court, either a tennis court or playing football with my friends. I can hang, but I knew that I wasn't going to be Billy. I wasn't going to be Greg. I wasn't going to be Dwayne. So that drive that she's given me, that she gave to all of us, to whatever you're doing at the time, be it playing on a B flat scale, or or catching the winning pass from the North and Central games as Dwayne would, whatever it was, be the best at it.
Yeah. What are some of your most favorite moments of being a kid? What do you remember as sticking out?
A couple of things. Now, here's how the music side attaches to the sports side. My brother, going back to Dwayne, his final game, North Central, in November or late October of 1979, I'm I'm the ball boy. I'm the manager. And so I'm a ball boy. And so my job, and once again, it comes back to having jobs. Make sure that, just like the Water Boy, the Adam Sandler movie, to make sure everything is set for the second half when the team comes out. So I'm doing my thing, and I'm listening to Al Thompson with the North High marching band playing in the stands. And so band is swinging, playing, matter of fact, the name of the song that they were playing at the time is Opus 1. This is Benny Goodman's song, Swing, Hard. And I'm listening to it, and I'm starting to, do my work, but dancing around a little bit. So Mr. Baxter, which I know that's a name that he's the PA announcer for North High, for football. He knew that I was a dancer. So he says, go ahead, Reese, dance. And just went into this whole, my thing was going back to what's happening, rerun from Happy Days, short little chunky kid that can move, do the splits and everything.
That's great.
So song gets done, end up in a split, crowd goes bananas. North High, the old field with the wooden bleachers, not what they have now, which is nice, the nice, aluminum bleachers. No, we went back a ways. So they go crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Game starts, and they're announcing the people, the seniors, and then the managers / ball boys. And so they get to my name, and the crowd goes crazy because of what just happened before. Now, mind you, I'm standing next to my brother that it's his senior game. It's his final game. And
he's the one that's supposed to be in the spotlight.
Yeah, and I steal his thunder, but he didn't know what happened.
Yeah.
So after the game, we're driving home, and Dwayne says to my mom, just in the car, why did they cheer so loud for Reese? And my mom had to tell him, he at halftime of your game when you're in the locker room stole the show, and he just like, I can't have that moment. My moment. It has to be him.
Did they win the game?
They won the game.
Oh, that's great.
I think they won it pretty seriously, like in the 30s or 40s, against like 13. I can look that up because it's documented. But that his last North and Central, and North was incredible at that time. The funny thing about Dwayne is his, I want to say it's 45th high school reunion will happen next week, which is the July 4th weekend, July 5th, 6th, and 7th. And unfortunately, I have to work July Fest, or I could go to his reunion, and it would be like my reunion because I got excused from Calvin Coolidge and East Junior to do like if they had a pep rally. I would get excused to go to North High and be part of that. So, his people are my people.
Right. But it's important. Those moments, those momentous moments in life can affect us positively or negatively, and that must have boosted your confidence that day.
It was a matter of that, once again, I had to do something and try to do something great with music, even though music and sports throughout my life has collided together, wonderfully. But going through going back to when my high school career at Binghamton High was done, a couple years later, I would go back to help out with the marching band program, to help out with the pep band, then run the pep band for a few years. And then stemming from that, I start PA announcing. And now I'm at BU, and once again, it all came full circle. I'm at Binghamton University, Division I, doing America East playoff games for the different sports there. With the special, my sport to do there is softball. So I have PA announced for a couple of championships for America East.
Oh, that's wonderful.
all throughout life, music and sports just collided with me.
Yeah. And you talked about your mom instilling in you being of service.
Mm-hmm.
And did you mean actually helping, contributing, giving back, whether it was when you were real little babysitting and getting paid for that, but as you got older, I always remember you as a mentor to those coming through with music. And I admired that. I'm like, wow.
That came through mom. That came
Yeah.
to my mom at the teen center required the students to bring in their report cards. So stemming from that, if you needed help with, let's say you needed help with algebra or whatever my mom would seek out somebody at Binghamton University or Harper College at that time to come in and work with you. Upstairs in the Urban League, they had study time. I mean, this is all Viola Pine's doing. Yeah. That you had to make. Even though I was a knucklehead student, the people around, couldn't be.
Yeah. What about motorcycles? How does that play into the picture?
It starts with mom was the original motorcycle mama. She started off with scooters. It started off with a Honda Elite 80 that would go 40 miles an hour. And back then, if your bike went 40 miles an hour, it was classified as a motorcycle. So my brother, myself, and a few other friends got their licenses on scooters. And, I don't know how it's now, but I wouldn't advise that. I would advise getting your motorcycle license on an actual motorcycle. So my mom went from an 80 to a Honda Elite 150, then she went to a 250. The 250 went 70 miles an hour, and from that, we have family in Detroit. My mom on a Honda Elite 250, a couple of trips to Detroit, a couple of trips to Buffalo,
Wow.
went to Syracuse, went down south one time, and then she, graduated to a Honda Shadow 750. And unfortunately, a little too much bike for her. She ended up crashing on that. It didn't hurt, what hurt her elbow and her shoulder, but it wasn't, catastrophic. But that's when she was like, okay, I'm a little older now. Let me back up off of motorcycles. Fast forward, so I've always been interested in motorcycles, throughout the years, and had said one day I'm going to have a motorcycle. Last year was that time. I now have a 1985 Goldwing. Wow. That the person that had it before me decked it out military. All around the bike, there's military stickers, and I kept that because Dwayne going in the Air Force. My father was Army, so in the front of it, I have two stickers that say "Son of an Army," son of somebody, son of an Army, person, and brother of an Air Force
that's great.
person. So the bike is a tribute, one, to military, but two, and most importantly, to my mother.
How often do you ride?
As much as the Binghamton weather lets me. Last year it rained so much. I only was out probably a good maybe 15 times because I bought the bike in the middle of the summer. This year I've been out quite a bit. Matter of fact, when this is over, I'm going on the bike.
Wow. So let's shift gears a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We just launched our 100th episode,
Mm-hmm.
and been doing this now for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
But we have something in common because I know over the last couple of years for you, you lost over 100 pounds.
Absolutely. I've been doing what's called keto, which is Ketosis Diet, and low carbs, if any, and high protein and fat. And it basically changes your body. Rather than using glucose as its fuel system, it looks around and says, okay, you're starving me here. Let me find, oh, you have a bunch of fat right there. That's what I can use for my fuel. So lost in the last year, which almost to the date has been a year, had lost 90 pounds, and then in the year before was when I got weighed, so I know my weight, and I won't grace you with the weight, but it's 105
That's awesome.
pounds from there.
Congratulations, Reese. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
And I would advise anybody to seek out how you're going to lose weight, because there's many different ways to do it, especially when you're as big as I am. The first thing that you'll notice that the stress on your knees is less. Then you're able to, I was able to just say, okay, I'm going to go out and walk the dog, and take a long loop around the neighborhood. Even getting on and off a bike. I have a bike now that I go out riding every now and then, but getting on and off the motorcycle is a lot easier now. Just life in general is just less stress on your body. Was borderline diabetic. That's no longer. I was able to get rid of that that medicine, and just able to do more. Able to enjoy things more, and I'm not going to be one of the people, because I hated when it was done to me, that basically says, you should lose weight, and I'm not going to browbeat somebody about it. I'm just the living proof of, if you want to do it and you want to, if you set your mind to it, you're able to find your path to lose weight, and the joys and the benefits far outweigh, and the joys and the benefits, even health-wise and away from health-wise, far outweighs just continuing on whatever path you're to either get bigger or stay as big as you are. It's truly remarkable to be able to enjoy, and I'm only halfway there. My goal is to lose 200, and the weight loss is slowed down now. I fluctuate from a month. I fluctuate to either 5 pounds, to gain 5 pounds, or to lose 10. So it's always a 10-pound fluctuation, and what happens is I will stay stagnant for 2 or 3 weeks. Then all of a sudden, they call it whooshing, that you'll all of a sudden just lose a bunch of weight very quickly. And then, so the 100 pounds, it stays at that level, but a couple months ago, it was staying at like 90 pounds. And then it fluctuates between the 100 pounds, and I'm hoping that it will fluctuate between the 110 pounds. Wow. I just want to keep going.
Well, if you're in agreement, I'd love to have you back after that 200 mark, so we can talk about that.
Absolutely.
Because it is quite, I'm sure it's very difficult, not only physically but mentally, to be able to do it. Right? How do you get in the mindset for it? Is it once you get in the flow, then?
For me, it was a matter of, okay, in the beginning, I went 2 months. I'm like, okay, I'm going to stay, I'm not going to eat anything bad, ever again. And then you start reading, it's like your mind will start to play tricks on you that you have to give yourself. You can't. You can deprive
cheat day or something.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's what it.
Mm-hmm.
You can deprive your body whatever nutrition to as you're going through your weight, but you can't deprive your mind. Your mind needs satisfaction. So once a month, we have a cheat day.
Once a month.
Yeah, once a month, and even with that, we have to play around with it a bit, because we had grad parties, the last couple days, yep. And we know that we can't say, okay, we need a complete keto-friendly meal that but with that, you go to grad parties, everybody's going to have hamburgers and hot dogs. We can eat hamburgers and hot dogs just without the bun.
Right.
Everybody's going to have chicken.
So that's
Speedies.
What you do now.
That's exactly.
Okay.
We're able to go to our favorite restaurants and eat what we want, just know that we have to make allowances. Like, we can have our artichoke dip with the cheese dip, but instead of using the chips, we use celery sticks. It's still, just there's a lot. Jeff Goldblum said in Jurassic Park, always got to find a way.
That's right.
Or
That's
something
right.
to that.
Yes,
So,
yes.
Yep.
Well, that's really, really impressive. And I don't know. I'm when people lose this amount of weight, and I've had a couple of folks on, Louis G being another guy.
Absolutely.
I'm just so.
He's been my muse.
Really?
He's been the one that, if there was ever, Louis did it by gastric bypass, and he was one of my first really close friends that had lost that kind of weight, and so he was the one that I talked to about, okay. Gastric bypass was on the horizon because my doctor, knew that I had to lose weight, and the only thing about doing it gastric bypass wise, you're doing it very quickly, and for some people that doesn't work out. Some people's system can't handle that kind of shock. I just knew how I wanted to do it is to do it slow and very steady, and coming back to, once again, going back to sports, I'm now at the point that I feel that I want to get back into martial arts.
Great.
So that's what my brother Billy was a world champion martial artist. I had taught we had 3 schools in the area. I taught at the 3 schools. I got, my 2nd degree black belt back then. And now I feel that I'm in a position to go back to, being, a competitor, rather than just being a teacher and a coach.
Awesome. So Reese, let's talk about the relationships that you have built over the years because of your music.
Well, it kind of, the relationships, I have friends from grade school that in band that we still talk to and communicate, but the real relationship started when Binghamton North and Binghamton Central combined, and stemming from that, we have Tony Cadillac, which we call our godfather because he was the first one of the group of jazz band students that went out and did major things. He's playing on Broadway at Beetlejuice. Currently played for Frozen, played if you listen to the radio and there's a horn part on the radio, play with Michael Jackson, play with Michael McDonald, play just everybody. And he was the kind of the first one out of Binghamton to get to that level. And my good friend, Steve Davis, trombone player, is currently in Europe playing with Chick Corea. Dina DeRose, piano player, currently in Europe teaching, it's not Switzerland, Austria. So my friends in high school, Tom Dempsey is playing, is teaching at Rutgers, or at last I knew he is. He's all over the place. Chris Jensen plays with Dickie Betts. Just so many friends doing amazing things, and I can pick up my phone right now and just, but Tony, for instance, I just, dude, was just thinking about you, was wondering what's going on. I'm about to go play, Tony's telling me the FedEx Cup theme.
Oh my gosh.
The golf theme, I'm about to do that recording session, and then I have Beetlejuice later. And just
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, it's truly remarkable that they're doing just major things out in the world. And then when we all get together, which we'll have a jazz show in December at a place downtown, that they'll all get together, and we do it. We try to do it every year, that all the greats that came out of this area get together and just have some, they play what's called the head of a song, which is the melody of a song, and then they improvise. So then you get to hear how they contribute to the world. So, and for some reason, they keep asking me to be a part of this. And I get into discussions with them of how I should have went to college. I should have, continued with the music in college and become an educator and do what you guys do. And they said, no, somebody had to stay home. And somebody had to make sure things are carrying on at home. Reese, you were the one that needed to do it. So
Wow.
I take great pride that I stay here in Binghamton, that I direct the pep band at Binghamton University, that I go back every now and then and play with the high schools, play with Vestal High School, and just try to continue music in our area.
Oh, no, it gives me the chills because I think about, what if you weren't here? What if you weren't here?
Yeah.
Who would play that role? So
There are so many relationships that, as I think about, okay, let's say, Maurice Taylor went to school, went to Howard University because that's where I was headed, got my degree, went to wherever. How would Binghamton University? How would somebody directing the pep band? How would I assistant direct official assistant direct the jazz ensemble. So there are plenty of relationships that I made there. And how would all of you literally will sit back and say every single thing in your life would be different.
Yeah.
And how would it be different? Would it be positive? Would it be negative? Would you just be kind of stagnant? The other thing I think about, if I went on to went on and got my music education, and I would be thinking of retirement at this time. And just the whole, it's mind-numbing to just sit back, as we're talking about Anthony Bonelli, meditation. That's, just sitting back quietly and going over your life. What relationship would you have? I have a dog, Cole, that he wouldn't be there at how would I, compensate from not, not being able to fish as much as I like to fish, and just everything in your life would be different. And that's actually a good exercise to kind of ground yourself and center yourself, to think about the steps in your life that you've taken. If you took a left turn instead of a right turn somewhere, where would you be? What would be your contribution to the world?
And when you do that exercise, does regret play into it? Do you ever have regrets?
That's the only regret that I have in my life, is that that I didn't continue my music education. And the reason that it's regret is because being in this area, I kind of, because I don't have that musical education. I'm not a music teacher in school, and my life would be, very steady. I knew that Monday through Friday, from 7:30 to 3:30, I would be teaching, and that would be you would be teaching something different, working on different pieces of music. However, it would be different, and that's the only regret that I really have in my life, is that the stability wouldn't be there.
So for young kids who might be listening to this, who are thinking about a career in music, and maybe they're at that point where they're getting ready to go into college or whatnot, what advice do you have?
Well, let's go back a little further than come to that point. Music, less video game, more music, it's tough. You don't want to force your kids to do anything, because they'll eventually rebel against you. If you force them to sit down and play the piano, force them to sit down and play drums or anything, you gotta make sure that you are taking your kids to concerts, so you can, especially in the beginning when they're playing, a kid that plays drums, take them to go see live music. And that's the one beauty of the Binghamton area. There is a ton of live music in many different styles, anywhere from folk music to jazz to classical to you name it, hard rock. Just everything is in this area, and
So it's important for the young kids to see visually
to see
and
that.
experience
Okay,
it.
you sit down and you teach a kid just to play a simple beat, boom, cat on drum, boom, cat, boom, cat. To take that kid to see, the band Odd Man Out, Reckless Marcy, any of the bands that are, so many bands, and I apologize that I'm leaving out, my friends' bands, but those are the bands that I just saw PA announced for Strawberry Fest in Owego, and Reckless Marcy was playing. So and let alone these guys are world-class musicians. And once again, a lot of these bands in this area have these same world-class musicians. They're just the world's nicest guys. You can go up to them, you can talk to them, you can pick their brain. You have music educators in this area. You have Mike Carbone, saxophone player that is the director of jazz studies at Binghamton University. He plays with Splash. At any time when they're off stage, you can go up to Mike and talk to him. And because he's been a music educator since the 80s, he's one of the first music educators that I, studied alongside with at summer jazz camp. And, I want to say his first years here was either 80 or 81. That was when I was just learning to play jazz on trombone. So any of these music educators that you see, or any of the musicians, the vast majority of them are great people that realize, okay, we got to continue music into this area. We got to make sure that, even, kicking and screaming, the kids got to be pulled through, and once again, and believe me, I'm a gamer. I know how much fun it is to kind of, lose your mind in a game. But, just music is in dire need of kids that start playing and retain playing throughout their musical career and our musical school, then career, and just realize that in this area, you can always find a band to play.
Yeah.
What's about to happen, Chris Weber, which is the music educator from Chris Weber, what's about to happen is Chris Weber, which is the Union Endicott music director, when I was coming through school, has a summer concert band that you don't have to audition. You just have to love music and have a level of proficiency at your instrument. So you have let's say you have a saxophone in your closet that it's been there for 10 years, but you have the music in your soul. You can go pick that up and go play with this group that's about to happen in Endicott. We play at Enjoy Golf Course, and we play at the Pavilion in the park. Satoma Field is attached to the park in Endicott. That for 6 weeks, we'll be playing there. So just know that we got to get youth back into music, because it's not where it needs to be, and it's definitely not where it used to be.
And for parents and students, I guess what you're saying too is don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to ask for a mentor or talk to someone, right? Reach out to yourself. Absolutely.
And this is one of the advantages of being the pep band director at BU, is that I have a lot of parents that will come up to me and say, hey, this is my kid that I went to school with. Hey, I remember you at Binghamton High. This is my son, Jimmy John or Joey John that plays trumpet. What can you tell the kid? And it's just play. Have fun with it. Know that you'll have your music that you have to play in school, but go home and just pull out the trumpet and just play. It doesn't necessarily have to be structured. It just play, just enjoy music.
Yeah. So how important is it for, again, there's people listening all over the world. If you're a musician, how important is it to be a mentor to the young generation?
It's crucial. It's not just important. It's crucial to the development of music as we know it. Sorry to sound so dire, but music can be created. The most fun conversations that I get into with people is they say, well, hip hop music is not music. No, it's very much music. It's more modern. It's done more with computers now, but you still have to have knowledge of structure, of how to put phrases together. So even with even with how computer music is introduced, you still have to have some knowledge of music. So it's crucial that kids, adults, it's never too late to take up an instrument, to know that that you have to start somewhere. It is crucial. It's not just important. It is crucial for people like myself, people that have the kid that will come up to them at any given performance and say, I want to do what you do. Give that kid your card. Say, keep in touch. For me, it's like, hey, listen, any basketball game that's going on at Binghamton, I'm the director, I'll be here. Come talk, go up there, sit with the kids.
So make yourself accessible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially with social media today, it's very easy to connect.
With thank you, Mark Zuckerberg, for creating Facebook, because through Facebook and through social media, Twitter and all that, I'm able to keep in contact with people far beyond my scope. For instance, not the trombone that's here, but I have a trombone that I bought through the trombone player with Bruce Springsteen's band that I met through Tony Cadillac.
Oh my gosh.
So, that just was not possible back in the day. I talked to Greg Boyer. Greg Boyer is not a household name, but to trombone players, we all know who Greg Boyer is. Now, to kind of make the connection is I went to see Prince. Oddly enough, I just went to my friend that took me to see Prince. His son just graduated from Union Endicott and was at his grad party yesterday. So he takes me to see Prince, and we're sitting in front of the horn section. Greg Boyer is the horn section, the trombone player with Prince. So go back to the hotel, because it was in State College. Go back to the hotel and jump online. And because I've known the name, but never put two and two together of why is this name familiar. So check out his Facebook page. He's the trombone player with Funkadelic, Parliament. So I've indirectly known this man all my life.
Incredible.
So just put out a Facebook request, and a little explanation that I was just at the Prince show, sat right in front of you, and he writes back. He accepts, writes back, yeah, you were in front of me. You were grooving with the white shirt on.
He remembered.
And that when that kind of connection happens, that's why I will be a trombone player for life, because of all the connections that you can make. And to this day, once or twice a month, hey, Greg, what's going on? Where are you now? I'm playing with this person in Europe. We're on our national tour. And even with that, he's an indirect mentor.
Yes.
Because I'm able to at any time reach out to him, and it's even more fulfilling when my question is trombone related and not just fanboy related,
Right.
and technical questions, and once again, you reach out to these people. They realize the power that they have and how they have to, help people out to continue the music through.
Because at the end of the day, I think people want to help others.
Sure.
Right? I mean, we want to
Sure.
help. And look, most of us are busy, but we always can find time
Sure.
to help
Sure,
others
and
who are seeking it out.
And a lot of people will just say, okay, if you come up to them in a restaurant, okay, I'm kind of eating here, give me a little bit and we'll talk. And it's just, patience is a virtue, is not just a phrase that's just thrown out.
Yeah.
That really, in due time, people will help you and help whatever whatever you need to whatever level you need.
Yeah.
Because you're talking then, if you're a serious trombone player that you're coming through, you go to music school, and now you're out of music school, now the connection that you made with Greg Boyer at a Prince show, that's now networking.
Yeah.
Now, okay, I'm a professional player now, as the student would say, out of music school. I need to know, how do you do what you do, and who do I need to contact?
Yeah, so important. We're going to hear you play the trombone in
Okay.
a little bit.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
Yeah.
But just a few more questions before we let you go. And again, thank you so much for the time and the
It's my pleasure.
get to know you better as a friend and,
Yeah.
and share your story with all those who have known you or have not known you. So we get an appreciation for everything that you've been through for your life.
It's truly, sorry to use the word mind-numbing again, but just the circle that that you go through, and my circle just you want to know what it was like. Your circle is here, my circle is here, and we just constantly
Yes.
did this.
Yep.
And now it's this.
Yes, and that represents many, many people. I mean, most people, and there's, again, I know you had expressed off camera, I think you have an interest in podcasting. I would love for you to start your own podcast, and I'd love to help you.
Yeah, and that, believe me, once again, connection, networking.
Yes.
Even on your page, you want to start a podcast,
Yeah.
and this is all information that I will need. I have, to talk about what the podcast was going to be about is about motorcycle riding to a destination. And I started I have like all the connections on the bike and on my helmet, and realized that, okay, I'm using my phone to turn on the different cameras, and okay, I'm paying attention to the phone rather than paying attention to riding. So the first time all the phones, all the cameras still have the material in it of that first ride, because I had to stop it immediately, because I realized that I'm paying attention to things that I don't, that you can't
Put
pay
yourself in
attention
danger.
to.
Yeah.
Well, not so much putting yourself in danger, but like, for instance, you're riding down the road, and you know that if you look at something, that it's going to come, like, for instance, let's say I'm riding in on Colesville Road up by Gary's You Pull It or wherever, going out in that area, that it is, or even better yet, let's say that you're riding on Brevier Street, because I can take Brevier Street to get to where I live. So, but once you leave the city, it's all farmhouses and nice, beautiful houses. And if I look at something, it's going to happen on the camera. So I'm riding and I look at something, and then you want to look at the camera to make sure that you looked at the proper things to get it on the frame. And then and this actually is a true story of what made me realize I'm not ready to do this yet, or I need somebody to show me how to do it, so I'm not paying attention to, because the phone is running the cameras that I have.
see.
So I realized, okay, I'm taking my eyes off the road to make sure that I'm framing properly. And so I put everything away. This was like one of the first, or the second ride that I had this year that I had all the cameras attached to me. So I said, nah, I'm not ready for this yet. And it all sits in the box. So,
But you do want to pursue it.
I do, absolutely. And
I think it's a great idea.
well, and what the premise is going to be is that I'm writing to somewhere, within our region, to kind of showcase the area, because, as much as we want to complain about the weather and complain about that, the funniest thing that somebody says, and I hear this all the time, there's nothing to do in Binghamton. Are you crazy? There's everything to do in Binghamton. And just like we deal with the students at Binghamton University, they'll come, they'll leave. And that's kind of the first things. What do you do in this area? Well, first you get a speedy. And we got a lot of places in the area. That's your first introduction to the area. And then you got downtown, you have First Friday, you have carousels, you have the Ross Park Zoo, you have the Speedy Fest, and it's just.
So you want to highlight some of those
I want to
things.
highlight the area,
That's
but
great.
do it through the eyes of a motorcyclist.
Cool. Well, I can't wait to learn more about that.
Sure.
So I called you the voice of reason in the intro.
Sure.
And I really believe that. You're one of these people that you seem to really care about everything.
The area,
yeah, you
more
care
than
about
anything.
the area, you care
Yeah.
about people, and when there's a conversation, that shines through. So, but I wanted to touch on, you used to be on a radio talk show.
Yep, I used to. Once again, coming through music, DJing came to DJing parties came to radio DJing, and the first bit of radio DJing that I did was on a public station, WUCI, and from that, DJed a couple times on WHRW, which is the Binghamton University station. Then went to DJing on WAAL. First I went to WKGB for a year. Then went to AAL and stayed on AAL and all of the different companies that AAL became part of, and was on. And the voice of reason comes from the WMBF days.
Yes.
That I used to be a producer of a talk show on WMBF. Of course, you had the host that was and this is just a term of endearment, the loudmouth.
Right.
And I was the kind of the background person that when he said something funny, you can hear me laugh through the through the window. And when he gets excited, my job was to kind of bring center to the show, and that's what I hope I did that.
How long did you do that for?
I was on WMBF in that capacity for 9.5 years, and was the producer of the Talk with Tony show with Tony Russell, and stemming from working, because of working through that, I became an assistant program director for AM programming. So I looked after, when Roger Neal, which is another name, to our area, legend and mentor. He's to this minute one of my biggest mentors, because Roger is one of the people, no matter how frustrated I would get with life in general, he would be the one, because I'm working with him. He's the PA, or he's the radio announcer for Binghamton, a bunch of different sports, but primarily basketball, men's basketball. So I see him at every game that the pep band is, and make it a point to say, "Hey, Raj, what's going on?" And he's been more than any of my professional friends. He's been my mentor throughout everything. Between him, Mike Carbone, Tony Kedleck, Steve Davis, All of these are my close friends, but I get more from just talking to them than just the average, hi, how you doing, and keep it moving kind of thing. These are people that have been my mentor, outside of my family, since the beginning. So, going back to being in radio, music radio was always what I wanted to pursue, and in this area, that's the one thing that's really hard to find is a radio job. I want to get back to it, but there's a whole bunch of radio going on, and the people that are in it have been doing it. We call them lifers, and they're not giving it up too easy.
Right.
So I keep in contact with all my radio friends, just in case, but they're just been my friends.
Yeah.
And that's mentoring, once again, directly, indirectly. I mean, the Roger, Steve, Tony, and all of them are direct mentors. But there's people around that I don't talk to daily, but I get my fuel for life and for different, a lot of them are into politics now. And politics for me is a necessary evil, but I try to stay right in the middle. There are different aspects from different parties that I follow. I'm personally more in how this ties into what you were saying. I worked on a primarily conservative station, which is WMBF, but working with the talk show, there were conservative issues that we dealt with. There were Democratic issues that there are Green Party issues. And the one thing of working with the talk show, it showed me how people need to work together. And that's more so than anything that's going on these days. That's not what's happening. People need to go back to ground zero and figure out how this person needs to work with this person.
I agree, because it is so divided.
Yeah,
and the only way to get things done is to work together. It's really the only way.
Right, and for me, that's one of the things that I've always strived to be right in the, because I've had friends, going back to high school, had friends that were musicians, friends that were jocks, had the academic people, and I wanted to be friends with all of them. And it seems that to bring it to today, it seems that everybody's divided and everybody's trying to solidify their piece of the pie for power, not for solidifying the nation as a whole. It's just everybody is just about themselves at this time, and rather than to everybody is being exclusionary rather than inclusion.
How do we make it better, Reese?
Music. Come back to music. That's music and love are the only universal languages that we have in any culture, anywhere you go. If from Siberia to Africa, you go down and somebody plays music, it's either good music or bad music, but nonetheless it's music, and people will come together at that point.
Yeah, love it. If you were to take out your cell phone and call the 20-year-old Reese, what would you say to him?
Ooh, ouch. Become more focused. Your music will take you places that you thought you would never be able to see. Your music will take you to England, to Germany, to France. Your music will take you to Oklahoma to see the World Percussion Hall of Fame, or the World Percussion, it's Hall of Fame is what you would want to call it, but your music will take you everywhere, but you have to have a good heart. keep your happy-go-lucky nature. Continue to love people as you were since you were a baby. You knew that you were always going to be the prankster, but the pranks were always in good heart. Like there are people now that are pranking by blowing up cars. That's a little too much. Go ahead and toilet paper a tree here and there. Go ahead and put that whoopee cushion under your teacher's under your teacher's seat. Always come from a good place. Try your best to, even when people are gonna test you, people are gonna try to bring you, down to their negative level. Always keep positive.
Awesome. And the last question, which I ask every guest,
Okay.
that is, at the end of the day, hopefully, 30 years down the road, what do you want your legacy to be on this earth? What do you want to leave?
The joy of music. Just that's just simply put the ability that I've played with some of the world's greatest musicians, some of them that were my friends, that my childhood friends. Some of them are, far greater than imagine. I played with Roy Ayers. Roy Ayers was growing up. We had all of his albums, and being a senior at Binghamton High, for 2 performances, Roy Ayers played at Esprit. And I was able to go on stage and play with him. Then my brother Billy bought me a car, and the first serious trip that I took with that car was down to New York to play with Roy Ayers, because Dave Robbins, which is a family friend, he's known me literally since I was born. He was his keyboard player, and went down to play with Dave, Roy Ayers on the Circle Line in New York. That was my first, 19 years old, my first trip, and was able to play all night, with this monster of a musician and monster of, he's a figure of acid jazz is what it's called. Music just has taken me far beyond my scope. Even at a young age, and even going through high school and playing at BCC with when I was in high school, I was playing with BCC's big band. So I'm playing with borderline professional musicians, and at the time there were professional musicians that played with the BCC band. So getting back, and I tangent an awful
That's
lot.
okay. That's
but,
why we're here. It's no problem.
Getting back to the question, my legacy is that I've always wanted to make you laugh, and I've always wanted to play music for you, no matter who that person is.
Awesome. Maurice Taylor, Reese T, as we called you back in the day.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for doing this, and
thank
welcome
you
to
so
the
much.
American Real family.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy and proud to be a part of the family.
Awesome.
Thanks for tuning into American Real. Be sure to visit our website, americanreal.tv, or search for us on iTunes or YouTube for past episodes. While you're there, please rate us or leave us a review, as that helps others find our show. I am truly grateful and appreciate all of your support. If you'd like to be part of our inner circle or want one-on-one coaching, check out the American Real Learning Academy, where we have self-help groups and courses so you can build the best you. We also have a new Facebook group where you can connect with high achievers from around the world. If you want to go even further, maybe you're determined to write your own book or launch your own podcast, contact me today to see if we could help. You can reach me through Instagram or Facebook, or email me directly at roger@americanreal.tv. And speaking of podcasting, our next course will be starting soon. So if you're interested in launching your own podcast, join me and Podcast Your Passion. I'll take you through my 8-week course where I'll mentor you to build a world-class podcast. I'm only taking on a small group of people who want to share their passion through broadcasting, where I'll have you up on iTunes and YouTube within weeks so you can podcast your passion. Click on the link below for more information.